All right, welcome everyone to the Town of Eastchester Planning Board meeting of Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's do the roll call. I'm Phil Nemesak. I'm sitting in as chairman today for James Bonanno, who is unable to make it. Joe Rubino.
Present.
Lauren Goodrich.
Present.
Michael Fortuno.
Present.
All right. We are going to defer the approval of the minutes of the October 23rd, 2025 and December 4th, 2025 Planning Board meetings. I've circulated my proposed revisions to those, but we don't have all of the members who were present at those meetings here to approve them, so we're going to table that to the next meeting, which is when, February
26th.
26th, okay. We have on our agenda today, we have 5, possibly 6 applications. We have 3 items of old business. The first, and this is the order in which they're going to be held. First is 5 Green Meadow Road. The second is Equinox at 750 White Plains Road. The third is 3 Rogliano Way. We have 2 items of new business, which is 201 Old Wilmot Road and 203 Park Avenue. And we also have a lot of time, at least at the end of the meeting, for the 15 Tuckahoe Avenue subdivision. So without delaying any further, let's get into the first application, which is application 25-65, 5 Green Meadow Road.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Joe Fernandez. I'm the architect, 575 White Plains Road, Eastchester, New York. So we were here in front of the board, and we were referred back to the building department to work with them on this structure, which was permitted by them, but we sat and met with Carlo, the building inspector, and we went through a bunch of iterations, and we came up with a solution to lower the overall height by 18 inches. So the current height of the structure, which is built in this gentleman's backyard, is 13'6", which is under the accessory structure of 15 feet. However, this is now being proposed down to 12 feet to lessen the visual effect from the neighborhood.
And it was 13.5 feet?
13.5.
For measurement. I know there was some dispute as to where the measurement should it be taken from, but the structure itself is down to 12 feet?
The proposed. It hasn't been reconstructed.
Yes.
We're waiting for this board's blessing. The existing structure was measured with myself and with Carlo on site, and that's where we came up with the 13'6". And now, again, we're going to reconstruct the whole thing down to 12 feet.
Okay, is that everything else would remain the same?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was as of right. Everything was surveyed and documented as it went, foundation and frame. They had to get surveys.
And how far, and I'm not doubting that this is built according to what's permitted under the code, which is a different issue, but I understand that you're building according to code. How far is the structure from the property line in the back of the house?
5 feet.
5 feet, okay.
And if you were to go to the site to look at it, it appears as though there's a white, one of those white vinyl fences, and it looks fairly close. The fence is well onto my client's property, and it is the neighbor's fence. So he's left it there, he doesn't, you know. And then he planted a whole row of trees to try to soften that as well.
Okay, and is that row of trees, because certainly recalling what some of the photos that we saw, you know, I can't help but think that if, and I live here in the Huntley Estates area, or R5 zoned houses, that if someone were to build right, you know, in my backyard like that, particularly if there was an elevation difference such that it's kind of raised above your property, I'd be quite upset. And but it does strike me that this is something of a zoning flaw that we may have with our zoning law in the town, that we don't have any scaling that accounts for the size of the property. Maybe we do. Maybe it's an R5.
No, there is. So there's a certain amount of land usage, but the setbacks are just, you know, again, it's a paper thing. So it's 5 feet, and you know, that's all it has to be.
And 5 feet's nothing.
It's not a lot. No,
Yeah.
you can stretch your arms. It's usually 5 feet. So
I would just point out it's a minimum of 5 feet.
Yes, I get it.
right, right.
Okay, so what is being done to attenuate the effect on the neighboring properties? You mentioned the row of, is it arborvitaes?
Arborvitaes.
There is a plan that shows the location of the landscaping. Maybe that would be a good one to show, because there is some shown along the rear property line and the eastern property line.
So the new trees that are planted are like 10 to 12 feet at this point. So they weren't, like, they're not little babies. They're, you know, it's a green wall that's going to grow fairly nicely back there. And they were professionally done by, I don't know if it was Nature's Cradle or somebody, but a nursery did it, so.
Okay, and show me what the trees look like relative to this. Is it like a PVC fence, white
Yeah,
vinyl?
it's the white fences behind there,
Okay.
see, so you can't even really see it anymore.
Okay. And how far into your client's property is this PVC fence?
I believe on the survey it showed it was like 2 feet. So between the fence and now the structure is like 3 feet. And that's where the shrubs are.
All right, and that measurement, you know, what you're telling me about the neighbor's fence intruding onto your client's property is something that's been verified by Carlo?
Survey, and a surveyor.
Survey, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
not by me nor Carlo, who's a surveyor. And he has no issue with it. He's not looking to, you know, to change any of that.
All right, so we have the arborvitaes on the on the back side of the property, the back line property
Yes.
line. Is there anything else that can and/or will be done to lessen the effect with respect to the neighbors who are on?
I mean, on the other side, on this short side, the other side that's 5 feet away, there's also a bunch of growth there that's there existing.
Yeah, that plan looks like it's showing plantings along the eastern boundary line as well, extending a little bit beyond, if you can see that plan in the corner.
Yeah, there are some plantings here that are his, but there's also, in the neighbor's yard, there's some huge some trees, nondescript.
May I just clarify? So I'm just looking at the map here. 6 Leslie Road would be the property that's directly behind 5 Green Meadow, that would have their backyard adjacent in the fence line?
I'm going to look right now.
That's what it looks like to me, too.
And just from the way that the roads are laid out, my assumption, and if you could just confirm this is correct, would be that the localized grade at this structure is synonymous with the grade of the other neighbor, their backyard. So they're both looking level. One's not built up, there's no retaining walls, anything like that in the neighbor's property that we should be aware of.
No, so only between Green Meadow and Leslie is Leslie lower.
So
Leslie's
Leslie's lower.
Lower, yes.
So then, if that's the case, then wouldn't that create, just from a perception, a more dramatic, if on Green Meadow, the structure is going to be high, and you have that differentiation?
Well, that's part of the reason why we lowered it. And
Yeah, we saw the photographs that
I
one
guess
of the
what I'm-
neighbors had brought, and it's, but that's the same neighbor who has built on the raised portion of your property? Is that the same neighbor? You said that there's a fence that intrudes onto your property.
so Leslie owns that fence, Leslie property.
And that is built on a higher
Yes.
grade?
Yeah.
How far down does it drop? I seem, it looks like
Yeah,
it drops
I
pretty
thought we had some
precipitously.
pictures of that from the other street. Bear with me, I'm sorry.
While you're looking for that, I guess just the point that I'm trying to get across is hypothetically, just to use a number, let's say if that grade on the Leslie property is 3 feet below the grade that's at that fence line, regardless of the fence of the neighbors and where it sits, it's going to give the perception, rather than a 12-foot structure, if that neighbor is in his or her backyard, the perception's going to be, it's going to be a 15-foot,
And-
structure.
And that is borne out by the photographs. It is, which is, I think if this were a flat property, we wouldn't have the same effect.
So here, you can see here on number 2. So this was before it was lowered. So this is how the structure is now at 13'6", and these were the abrevieties, the 10-foot abrevieties. This is the fence line, that 6-foot fence line.
And how tall will those arborvitaes grow?
I mean, I have them at my house, they're 20 feet.
Okay, these are the type, I
gonna
have
grow.
20 feet as well.
Yeah, they're gonna
The
grow.
green giant arborvitaes.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't take so long, believe me.
No, it goes fast, they go fast, they get
Yeah.
out of control.
Yeah, it depends, though, if this is kind of, if there's not enough room for it, it may have more difficulty.
Just for my own visual, can you go back to that? So what is the total height of the roof slope right now? What's that total height of the existing?
Which roof?
The existing roof.
Of the
structure,
of
the
it
new
now,
structure.
current structure is 13'6".
No, sorry, the roof itself.
You're talking
total
about the
depth.
house roof or the roof of this
Yeah, so basically the white zone, the roof itself.
13'6", which is going to get taken apart and brought down to 12 feet. So all that roof framing, everything has to be discarded.
Okay, so we have the arborvitaes at the back of the property that are hopefully going to grow
Soften it.
quickly and soften the effect on the neighbor in the back. You mentioned that there's a growth on one side of the structure that,
On that
on
side.
that side,
Yeah.
okay.
The other side, we had done a renovation there a few years back, and they also had put one of those vinyl fences, and they seem fine.
You can consider as a condition a similar row of arborvitae on the eastern property line as well.
Okay. All right, but the structure itself, with your agreement to bring it down 1.5 feet to 12 feet, it will otherwise, I mean, it is, but will remain compliant with the zoning laws.
Correct.
Okay.
It will be zoning compliant. There was a question about the height during the October meeting, but that's been rectified by reducing the height of the roof.
All right. Any other questions from this board?
You may want to just talk about the finishes on the building.
Oh, yes, I think they said they were going to be the same as on the house, right?
Yeah, so it's the same siding and I guess, the same color shingle for the roof.
You may want to consider, imposing that as a condition.
Yep. Yeah,
And
that would be,
I believe it's already on the drawings that we said to match the house, and so as part of our set that was originally permitted, so.
again, the purpose of this structure is what?
So they're going to use it as an outdoor place to sit under and a storage shed.
Okay. I know we had,
The open area that you see, this open area here, under the columns, there'll be a roof over it, and they'll have a table, and they can sit there and have a barbecue or something. And then these are for storage. There's no heat, there's no nothing, so it's just cold storage.
okay.
Is there a current structure there at the moment, or this is brand new?
Is there,
A current structure there at the moment, or?
this is already constructed,
Yeah, so it's just lowering the height of it now.
yeah.
Well, the history of it was that something was built, and then that had to be torn down?
No, so what happened was, my client had
Thank you.
constructed there was I guess, right at the bottom of the driveway, there was a structure. And it must have been in bad shape, and they tore it down, and then they started to just think that they could build it. They got stopped. That structure was removed, and then we designed something that suited their needs and was not going to be, an eye shot from the street, just
Okay.
the kind of.
Was it a garage that had been there originally, or something akin to a garage?
I didn't see the structure.
Yep.
The one that went down, but it was at the base of the driveway, so I think it could have been something, I mean, they have open air parking now, so it's fine.
Okay.
Could you just clarify again the square footage of the actual home footprint and what that is in comparison to the proposed, or I guess existing structure?
The home, you said, or this structure?
Both square footages.
Okay, so everything's on the drawings. I don't know the home structure right now. I mean, I'd have to investigate to look at that, but this cabana structure is 13.6 by 31. That's the overall.
Okay. I'm looking on the drawings now just to see a round number
It's
square
okay.
footage. I could scale
It's-
it, but
Yeah.
just visually, they both look relatively similar. So it's just more or less the perception too that,
The plan, the footprint hasn't changed because it was something that was already constructed. Now it's just, we're looking
Understood.
to lower it. Yep.
Okay. I don't have any further questions on this right now, but I would like to hear from the public. I know we have an open public hearing. Let's hear from the public. Yeah, if we have any further questions from you, Mr. Fernandez, we'll let you know. All right, I guess I make a motion to reopen the public hearing?
Second.
Wait, hold on. I make a motion. Yeah. Well, it's
Just to
open.
continue it.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing on application 25-65, 5 Green Meadow Road.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, members of the public, step up to the mic. Yeah, I know, but see, you're not there.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jerry Rodano, former Sano. I live at 9 Green Meadow Road. I see this structure every day in my bathroom window, and I cry. I just want to start off with that. I cry because it's so huge. Please, if you haven't seen it, go by and see. You could come to my house, knock on my door, and I'll let you see it from the window. It is so, it's a second house. It's a second house. Why are they building a second house? You have to ask yourself why. Okay, these are the things I have to say, I wrote it down. It's compromising our town over someone's flagrant violation. This is the second time this resident has violated Eastchester Building Department laws and regulations. He built the first structure without considering the building department at all. He just built it, he had his men build, I watched them every day. They were very good. They were good builders. They built it immediately, very, very quickly. And then I complained, and they took it down. Thank you for that. He is new to the neighborhood and should learn to adhere to Eastchester Building Code regulation. I've been here 60 years. I won't put, anything without consulting the building department, because that's the way it's done, and we know that. Me and my husband. He's already taken down a non-compliant structure, now has built another one. Does this building require any kind of variance from building bylaws? Is it a non-conforming structure? And the answer is absolutely yes. You really have to see it as members of this board.
Actually, unless what Mr. Fernandez tells us is incorrect, and I have no reason to.
It is correct.
It is
zoning
correct.
compliant, yes.
It is compliant with the code.
Really? I understand what you're saying.
And
find
I
it-
understand what you're saying. I stated before
Second house.
that
It's a
it.
second house.
I view it as something of a flaw in the code and maybe it's just a confluence of events.
Fix the
that
code. Let's do the right thing. and fix
I
the
don't
code.
write the code,
How-
nor do the members of this board.
The house is only several feet down from the walking entrance to Ann Hutch Grammar School and could pose a potential danger as far as parking and traffic hazard. If there's a lot of cars out there because people are visiting. Building has to be removed or modified to meet local zoning bylaws. There is no reason for exception or variance acceptance. Does this building require a variance from local building department bylaws? Because as you read by law, it is a non-compliant structure. Please measure it again, do whatever you have to do, but I can't believe it's compliant. I really, really cannot believe that. I just can't believe that. It doesn't matter if building is for his wife, his children, or 12 workers from his bodega business. This structure will remain long after he is gone. It is far larger than all other buildings in the Eastchester neighborhood of smaller lots. It's just such an eyesore. And when he built it, all the stuff ran down into the property behind him. I know that because I spoke to the woman. She's not here tonight, but everything ran down into her property. It destroyed her property.
Is that Mrs. Durso?
This is, yes, I'm not sure of the name, but the house right behind it. It's at 6.
The woman who spoke here last time?
6 Leslie Road, yes.
Yeah, I think it's Durso.
This is the second time this building was built, and it is still not compliant with Eastchester Building Code regulations. I believe that. It is an unfinished scar on our community, and it must be taken down. Please, go and see it before the next meeting, please. And understand, I look out the window and I cry every day, and you know what? I've been there for 50 years. Since I was 16, I'm 76. I want to leave the house to my children, but it's such an eyesore that, and I can't even sell it now. Who's going to buy this from this, this monstrosity when you look out the window and you see it? Please take a look at it. Please consider, please do not allow him to put this up. It is a nightmare, and it's going to get worse. I know it is. I know it is. Please fix this. I pray very hard on this. Please fix it. And thank you for your time and consideration. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, you have anything to say? I just had a question. My husband has a question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
My name is Mike Formisano. I live at 9 Green Meadow Road. I just wanted to know what percentage of area in the back of the house does this take? This may or may not be relevant, but I just was curious. In terms of the front of the house, and you're building this structure in the structure in the back. I just wanted to know what percentage of the backyard this was that we're building this, making this building on.
Are we talking about the footprint of the house?
Yeah.
Relative to the footprint of the structure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should have the applicant respond to that.
So as far as the property goes, I have not taken a measurement of that. There are measurements on the plans that have been submitted. These are online, so you can certainly reference them. Just with a quick math, it looks like roughly, and correct me if I'm wrong, the footprint of the actual residence is roughly 700 square feet. Again, that's just the floor footprint, but the actual structure, just from a quick rough and dirty scaled measurement, is 500 square feet. As far as how that's relative to the property itself, that I have not drafted up, but I'm sure
It
Mr.
just
Fernandez
looks
would be
like
happy to clarify.
Yeah, it just looks like it's part of the house only moved to the backyard. That's all. It's about as wide as the house almost, and it just exists in the backyard.
Please send someone to measure it again.
it
It
just-
can't be legal.
It is as wide as the house, roughly.
Yeah, it's wide as the house, and it's about 5 feet from
It's a
the
second
neighbors. Jerry?
Yep.
But it's 5
Yeah,
feet from the
Let your
neighbors.
husband speak.
Yeah, and again, all
So
these
it-
plans are for reference online, so certainly you can look at them for yourself to, get any clarity, but that's just from my quick observation.
Oh, we can't go over and measure,
Jerry.
we can't, but you can. And you can see, it's a second house. It's illegal, and it's good, it's really gonna destroy the Eastchester neighborhood. It really will. I guarantee you, it will destroy us. Please.
So the other area, the question I had was, is there going to be any electricity built into the house? I know you said there was no heat, but if you're building electricity in the house, you're going to have the ability to put heat in the house through these portable heating systems.
Yeah, I know there's been a concern voiced that this structure would be used to house people. And I can tell you it's been represented to us that that's not the case. It is not permitted that anyone reside in this structure. And if there were people violating that, the town would come down hard on them. It would be something that we would count on the neighbors to report. I think the applicant knows that this is not for that purpose. So I think we need to take a step back. It's not going to be used for that purpose. I take the applicant and Mr. Fernandez at his word that this would be used for entertainment and for storage. And it's a pretty big storage.
Yeah,
And the entertainment piece, well, I use my backyard all the time for entertaining. I have a big deck, and thankfully I have a whole canopy of trees and hedges and bushes, and I'm able to maintain my privacy, and I think give my neighbors privacy as well. So I understand the concerns, and I think everyone who's seen the photographs agrees, at least to some extent, that this is a very large structure, and just the numbers we heard a moment ago. You asked a very good question about the relative sizes of the two structures, the house and this accessory structure is technically what it's called, and the accessory structure is very large. It surprises me that an accessory structure that large would be compliant with the code. But as I said before, I don't write the code. No member of this board writes that code. And we are not charged with determining variances from that code. We have a zoning board of appeals that does that. But this structure, as Mr. Fernandez has represented and as Ms. Wolfson has confirmed, is, by all indications, and the measurements have been done, compliant with that. So the best we can do under the circumstances, I think, is to attempt to shield, to remove the effect, to lessen the effect. I don't know whether it was the brightest idea to build something. It's not a second house. It's not a house. It is a structure.
Just one clarification about the zoning compliance. As it is currently existing, there was a question about whether it complied with the height requirements, but the applicant has agreed to reduce the height by 18 inches. So in its finished condition, it will be compliant with the height. So as it's proposed now, it won't be as tall as it is at present, as you're seeing. It will be reduced by 18 inches.
But it's still going to have the same footprint, and it's
Yes.
still going to be a large structure. And particularly if I lived on 6 Leslie, it's hovering over my property. And I understand you have a different concern at 9 Green Meadow. And what we're trying to do right now, given we have our hands somewhat tied by the code itself, is to try to lessen the effect that it would have on the adjacent neighbors, including yourselves.
Which is being proposed as an addition today as well. I don't think it was in the last meeting, but all of those trees will surpass, I guess eventually, sooner than later, we think, the visual effect that all of the neighbors will have.
Well, certainly on the back.
On the back is what,
and-
yes, sir.
And we may be able to add
And
some-
perhaps we give the recommendation of putting on the sides as well, as far to
So you
Mr.
can
Nemsek's
basically
point.
hide it, essentially.
Right, because if it's, as everybody's saying, it is abiding by code regulations, so what we could do here is try to, mitigate the visual effect towards the
When you
neighboring
measure
properties.
the 13, and maybe I missed this, but when you measure the 13 feet, is that from the ground level, or is that from the point where they've rebuilt the ground?
So the code definition of building height takes the average grade at the 4 corners of the building from the lower of the original grade or the proposed grade. And there was a question about whether in its current condition it complied with the height requirements. But if it's brought down by 18 inches, it will. The height requirements are 15 feet to the ridge. So the ridge will be, I think, 12 feet at this, as proposed.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
And this is gonna say as I leave, this is not gonna go away. It's gonna continue to be a nightmare. I'm gonna be here every meeting. Really, it's so sad what this man has done to this town. And this will come
Ma'am,
back.
you can't,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
maintaining
You need
a
a
record,
mic.
so you have to speak at the microphone.
Good luck, everybody. Believe me, because I'm not gonna let it go. I will get my.
Ma'am, if you want to add
Thank
to
you.
the record, you have to speak at the microphone.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm speaking loudly, I think everybody can hear me. I cry every day.
Okay.
And I don't want to. I love this town. I've been here since I was 16 years old. And I want to pass this to my children. Please help me do that, okay? I pray, God listens. I'm all in my prayers.
Okay.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other members of the public who wish to be heard on application 25-65, 5 Green Meadow Road? All right.
Maybe you want to talk about clarifying if you want any conditions. The landscaping exists, but unless you impose a condition, it's kind of at the applicant's discretion to remove it. So you'll probably want to think about having a condition that has to be retained.
I have an inclination to send this to the ARB to see what they can do to, really put their minds to it, to mitigate the effect of the massing here.
Okay.
For the neighbors, because, hey, we have an ARB that does great work. They haven't weighed in on this. I know we had spoken about them before. It's not a requirement, but
Right.
I think it would be.
But you certainly have the discretion if you'd like to.
I do. I very much sympathize with the neighbors. I also, I sympathize with the applicant. We all have different tastes as to, what we think, fits in our properties and what's ideal. I understand, we've gone through this, we've heard all the different voices on this. I think it would be helpful to refer this to the ARB with the recommendation that they attempt to find a way to mitigate the visual effect of this structure, not only at the back, because it seems like that's being addressed with the arborvitaes there, but on the sides as well, so that the neighbors on Green Meadow have as minimal a negative effect from this construction, from this accessory structure as possible.
Yeah, maybe you want to ask the applicant to develop proposed landscape screening in a little more detail for the
Yeah.
Architectural Review Board to look at.
Yeah, I think it would be very much in your interest to do so. I know you were hoping to move forward perhaps more quickly, but, I want to make sure to button this thing down. So I think it's very much in your interest to go to the ARB, assuming my colleagues are in agreement with me that this should be referred to the ARB, with as fulsome a plan, a landscaping plan as possible, because I think that's probably the way to do it. Or if there are any other ways that you can lessen the effect that I'm not creative enough to think of right now, I would recommend that you employ those as well. So,
So you want to consider a motion to refer this to the Architectural
I think that's
Review
what,
Board?
yeah. I think
And keep
that's-
the hearing open?
Yeah, so that's what I would propose. We're going to leave the hearing open, and I make a motion to refer application 25-65, 5 Green Meadow Road, to the Architectural Review Board to address the concerns that we've raised.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, application 25-56, LT Eastchester LLC, which is Equinox, 750 White Plains Road.
Good evening. I'm Bob Davis of Singleton Davis and Singleton, attorneys for LT Eastchester LLC, the applicant and owner of 750 White Plains Road, as you know, formerly occupied by Lord & Taylor. Mr. Birmingham of Sachs Global is with me tonight. As you'll recall, we were last and first before you on September 25th on behalf of Equinox Health and Fitness Club, which was one of the new tenants to whom you granted a special permit in June. That particular one was for a recreation and family entertainment facility. And we came before you in September, and again tonight, to request an amendment to the special permit to permit Equinox to have operating hours, which would be the same as at its present location, just up the road, also consistent with the standard in the industry, and consistent with the club on the adjoining shopping center at Vernon Hills, and also to a number of fitness facilities to whom you've granted special permits over the last year or so with respect to operating hours. Equinox concurrently sought a variance from the zoning board because the operating hours that it requests exceed those permitted generically for recreation and family entertainment facilities under your code. As we made a full presentation to you at the September 25th meeting, I won't reiterate all of that, but I'll remind the board that you did refer to the zoning board with a recommendation for the variance, and you do have a copy of my letter submission to the zoning board that discusses the matter in detail. So we did meet with the zoning board at its November 12th meeting, and then just last week at its January 13th meeting, the board unanimously granted the variance that we requested, consistent with your recommendation and conditioned on the stipulated basis that there be no outdoor activities, which there will not be. So the variance grants Equinox the operating hours of 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. So tonight, we're simply requesting that you continue the public hearing, hopefully close it, and hopefully render your determination on the special permit consistent with the variance and your prior recommendation.
All very straightforward. I personally think that this application and this location for an Equinox gym facility is near perfect, because unlike almost every other application of this nature that comes before us, there's plenty of parking, and early morning and even late evening hours really very minimally affect any residential neighborhoods. So, I think this is a terrific location for this, and I've felt that all along. in a very clear way, I think, expressed my my belief that this, this development as a whole is a very good one. I know we all loved Lord and Taylor, but, picking up the pieces after that is a very important step for the town. And I think this is a great, Equinox has been a very good citizen, and I think this is a great move for them. So, those are my own feelings. I think you've been very responsive. I'm very happy to see Mr. Birmingham here again because he's a regular on our show here. I don't know if he has anything to say. He probably doesn't because this is so straightforward. You've gone before the zoning board. As you said, they unanimously approved these hours. I think we would in many circumstances, and certainly in these circumstances where this site is almost tailor-made for this. I don't know if any other members of the board have any other comments on it, but I know we do have an open public hearing.
Correct.
So as you suggested, I'm going to make a motion to continue the public hearing and see if we have anyone else here. So I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any members of the public here who wish to voice their opinion on application 25-56, which is the Equinox application, 750 White Plains Road? All right, not seeing any. I make a motion to close the public hearing on application 25-56, LT Eastchester LLC, Equinox 750 White Plains Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and I certainly think we ought to move forward with, we have a
Sure.
resolution, right?
So, in light of your positive recommendation in September, I drafted a proposed resolution summarizing the procedural history, summarizing the variances granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals.
And you circulated this the other day?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I circulated to the
Okay.
board members.
So I've reviewed it.
Circulated
Yep.
to the applicant. There's also a copy in the back of the room if anybody is interested.
And you've reviewed that proposed resolution, and does it address all of your concerns?
Yeah, we have no
Okay.
issue with the resolution. We're fine
Okay.
with it.
Okay. Do we need to read any portion of that in here, or do we just,
That's up to you. Essentially, what the resolution does, so the resolution that you granted in June went through each and every special permit criteria and explained how they were addressed. One of the special permit criteria is the hours of operations. So what this resolution does, it just basically says, it's subsection F of 12H19, so it just says we're deleting that section of the prior resolution and replacing it with the hours that were approved by the zoning board and proposed by the applicant.
okay. So-
Everything else remains the same, all the other conditions remain the same, all the other findings remain
Correct.
the same.
And this resolution will be part of the record. So I make a motion to adopt the resolution and approve the application for 25-56 LT Eastchester LLC, Equinox 750 White Plains Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your kind words as well. Have a nice night.
Thanks. Mhm. All right, next up, we have application 25-83 Rogliano Way. It wouldn't be Rogliano Way without a Rogliano. Hi, Joe, how you doing?
Good evening, Steve Anderson from Gabriel Senior Land Surveyors and Engineers. Basically, we are coming in with Lot 3 from the original site plan that was approved for the subdivision, the original subdivision, but it now conforms, well, will conform to the new subdivision that was proposed. So we're essentially here because the lot coverage was a little bit over. And there's also a walkway that did not appear on the original site plan. So that's all we're here for. We recommended a removal of 188 square feet to conform. The developer has actually already taken that out. We will confirm it.
That's the removal of 180 square feet of what?
180 square feet of the patio in the back, so.
Okay.
And it does conform for drainage. I double-checked the numbers, so the system's actually designed for a higher number, so it's conforming for that. So that's essentially what the project is, so, okay?
I talked about the drainage with the building inspector, and he agreed that there's no stormwater management issue with the slight modifications we're reviewing.
Okay. Yeah, this is pretty minor stuff, right?
Yeah.
But better to have it fixed and, as I suggested before, buttoned down. So,
The only other thing I might want to mention is that this lot, if you recall, just a couple months ago, you approved a subdivision for 34 Water Street, which kind of comes in
Yes.
On the side of that lot, and we're changing the frontage of that lot slightly by that subdivision. So maybe you want to consider a condition prohibiting the issuance of a permanent CO until that plat is filed, so that the lot is as it's depicted on the site plan.
yeah, what she said.
Yeah, I think I get, yeah.
Because right now, everything on the site plan is based on the lot as
Yes.
re-subdivided.
Yeah.
But that lot doesn't actually exist yet until the plat is filed.
Right,
And I
so-
assume you're probably moving along with the
Yeah,
Department
we're
of Health
moving
and,
on. I believe, like Finelli's working on, yeah, so, yes, we are, so.
Okay, so that would be a condition of approval.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess, do we have open a public hearing on this, or we're not?
yes.
Yeah, we did. Okay.
It's marked as an old business item because it is an amendment to a previously approved
Yes,
plan, but
okay.
there's no open public hearing right now.
There is no open public hearing. Okay, so I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on application 25-83 Rogliano Way.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any members of the public here to speak on 3 Rogliano Way? Not seeing any. I think we can make a motion, I will make a motion to close the public hearing on application 25-83 Rogliano Way.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And this is a pretty minor adjustment here. I don't know if any of my fellow board members have any further questions or any strong feelings one way or another, but I think I think we can vote on a resolution approving this application, subject to the condition that Noel voiced a moment ago.
And then we have two, like, sort of pro forma conditions. Number one
Yeah.
is that everything be in compliance with the plans presented.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, since this is an amendment, any prior conditions to the previous approval that are not being amended by this would continue.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve this application, subject to those 3 conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next up, finally, something new. Application 25-73, 201 Old Wilmot Road.
Good evening, I'm Christina Griffin. I'm principal of CJ Studio Architects. I'm here with Mary Cora Solnap. She is the owner of this property at 201 Old Wilmot Road. What we are proposing is to build, to remove the existing 2-story house and replace it with a larger 2-story house on this property. That our goal is to have a zero-energy LEED Platinum passive house. And also we're trying to meet the needs of a multi-generational family. And that family needs a larger house with more bedrooms. This lot is actually in the R 7.5 zone. It is in, it's a larger lot than the minimum required, which is 7,500 square feet. This lot is actually 9,946 square feet, which is almost 10,000 square feet. which I believe should handle a bigger home like this. This site plan is showing in dashed lines where the existing house is, and we're planning to put the house in this same location at the front part of the site. We're meeting all the setbacks, front, side, and rear, and the house will also be within the maximum impervious surface coverage.
So the dotted line within that is the existing?
Is existing,
Yeah.
correct. We're flipping the driveway to the other side, and that's because we're taking advantage of the slope, a gentler slope on this side, so that we can take the garage out of the basement and onto the first floor. This is going to give us handicap access to the home and also eliminate the basement altogether. The next slide is showing all the zoning data information, showing that we meet all the setbacks, impervious coverage requirement. We're going to be requesting a few variances, one to the maximum building coverage. We're slightly over that by 0.9%, and that's simply because we have a larger footprint when we put the garage on the first floor. And also, when you do a passive house, the walls are heavily insulated and they're 12 inches, and we just could not get it to quite work under that 27%. And we also have some small variances to the height, which is, I'd like to explain when we get to the elevations. It has a lot to do with the space on the roof that we want for solar panels. And what we're asking for is a variance of 11 inches above the maximum at the eave and 1 foot 4 inches above the maximum at the ridge. The maximum dimension from the average finished grade to the finished floor elevation also needs a slight variance. We're just 0.5 feet above the maximum, and that's because we want the house, well, we're actually even 4 inches lower than the existing first floor elevation, but we can't go any lower because we want the house to be 3.5 feet above the floodplain elevation of 203. And in maximum gross floor area, the existing house is 1,900 square feet. We're proposing 3,842, so we're going to be requesting a variance for 597 square feet. I'm going to take you through some images of this neighborhood. This is our aerial map. This is a location of 201 Old Wilmot Road, and you can see there's a variety of sizes of homes here. Some of the homes are much larger, I would say 2 to 3 times as large, but some of them are also small, like the original house that we would like to take down. And over to the left, there's this photographs of neighboring homes showing that there are 193 and 195 2-story and 2.5-story houses with bigger footprints. There's also smaller homes similar to 201 that are 1.5 stories, and then an occasional 2.5 story. So there's a variety of sizes of homes in this neighborhood. This is the existing house. This is a 4-bedroom, 1,900 square foot home, probably built in the 50s. It is the owner's intention to enlarge the home so that her family can stay in the town of Eastchester. There are grandchildren that she wants to stay in the school system. There's a handicap person in the family that has special needs, so we're creating a handicap suite for her with handicap access. And then there are other members of the family, 8 altogether. So this, what we'd like to do is move the garage to the left side so there's a gentle slope up to the garage and a handicap accessible way of getting into the new house and eliminating the basement altogether. These are just different views of the house just to show in the back there is a stream there's a partial floodplain on this property that I'll describe in a minute. And there's other photographs of the house as you turn around. It's usually what's called a 1.5 story like Cape Cod, but it actually has 4 small bedrooms in it. This is our foundation plan. This is important to discuss because what we would like to do is take you can see the dashed lines of the old house that exists. And we're replacing that with a new structure. But the new structure will not have any basement. It only has an excavated area under the new two-car garage and a crawl space. And we have limited the area of the new structure so that it is no larger than the foundation of the existing, which we can see in these calculations here, that existing and proposed are the same. And we're doing this by having part of the house to be on piers. This is because of the floodplain conditions that we want to make sure that there is no additional structure on the structure in the ground, and is also we're following the recommendations of our civil engineer. Our first floor plan is showing the new layout of the house. So there's a garage that is on the first floor, and come right into the main area of the house. And this will be, allows handicap accessibility from the car into the house to a suite in the back with a handicap accessible bath, open area for living, a small office, which every new house needs nowadays. And then on the second floor, we have bedrooms for 1, 2, 3 families. We've designed this to make sure that there are lots of jogs and interesting features like decks and porches to really help to give a very appealing aesthetics and also break down the mass and scale of the house. So this is our front elevation here. This is the new garage on the left, and you'll have a walk coming from the garage up to the new front porch. This drawing is showing that we need a variance to have just the back part of the roof rise up 1.4 feet above the maximum height. The rest of the house actually meets the maximum height requirement. And part of the reason why the house needs this is we are taking our heights from the existing average grade, not proposed, which is the lowest of the two average grade calculations. And we want to make sure that our first floor starts at 206.5, 3.5 feet above the floodplain elevation. So that means that above we end up with an eave height that is 11 inches above the maximum height, and that peak, which is at 1 foot 4 inches above the maximum. We have designed the house, this is facing west, so it has all the passive house features we need to help reduce solar heat gain during the summer with trellises, porches. There's a recessed deck up here. And this is our south elevation where we put most of the large expanses of glass because this is going to heat the house in a passive heating way during the winter. That peak that we would like towards the back here allows us another row of solar panels. So that's why we're asking for that variant, just simply so we can have the back rise up a little bit to get that extra, those extra panels that are required to head towards zero energy targets. So there are trellises and probably a mix of different types of natural wood and cement panels in the back of the house. This is facing east, so we can also get some passive solar heating from the east, so we have some large expanses of glass here. There's a deck up off the primary bedroom up there, and then a deck down below. On our north elevation, we have to really limit the glass for minimize solar heat loss, so we have small windows at bathrooms and a gym, and that we've designed this to have gable peaks and a variety of upper and lower roofs so that we can break up the mass of the house. We have now also our civil engineering drawings. Unfortunately, they were not reviewed by the town engineer, but I was just going to touch on them for now, just to let you know that Ralph Mastromonaco, the engineer, has designed a stormwater system, and there will be a retaining wall and filled area of the site. And here are all his storm drainage details. What's significant about his work is he has, and this is what has actually added to the time and a bit of a delay in submitting these drawings, because he discovered the FEMA maps are incorrect. Over here is the old map, and this is a corrected map, where the house itself is actually not in the floodplain. It's right next to the pink area. But part of the site, just a piece of the rear side and front, is in the floodplain, but the house itself is not. And that affects lots of decisions. And he has a cover letter and his analysis about the floodplain that will be reviewed by Eastchester town engineer. These are just some of his floodplain analysis images. So that is the extent of our presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Yes. So I know we have a report here from KSCG Consulting, which is our engineering commentary, which I think was provided to. I had not had the chance to review this before the meeting today, but it does. As you were speaking, I looked through it, and I don't know if you've seen this report.
I have.
Yeah, the first several pages are all about the floodplain.
Yes.
And the various steps that that need to be taken or at least shown to make sure that you're addressing these issues. It sounds like you are addressing these issues. Tell me, I think you mentioned that the whole house is being built on piers. Is that what you said?
No, about half of the house.
About half the house, okay.
The civil engineer recommends that we build the house so that we do not add additional structure on the lot. Even though he has discovered that the house itself is right
Yes.
outside the floodplain, he's recommending this, and the owner is also on board with it, just because it is always a concern that when you're near a waterway, just to make sure there isn't anything that is going to add to any kind of stormwater problems on the site.
You mentioned, for example, that you're intending on moving the garage, which is right now a basement garage, up to the left. And is that moving it away from the floodplain?
The idea is to get everything out of the basement.
Yeah, I understand that,
Basement.
but is the direction that it?
Yeah, it is away from, it
Away
is on
from-
the other side. If you look at this plan,
Okay.
I don't know if you can see the drawing, but the garage is on the, actually
On that
north
side.
side
Okay.
of the house.
The proposed,
Yes.
okay.
So it is away from.
And what's going to be done, I understand that you don't want the garage in the basement anymore. Is that, what is going to be done with that empty space that's now vacated?
Crawl space.
It's going to become a crawl space, okay.
Yes.
And there were references in here to making sure that the crawl space could, attenuate water or whatever.
Absolutely. Just
Yeah.
to, just as a precaution, we want to keep everything, no basement, just the whole structure is, well, one reason why part of the house is on piers is because visually it would look very odd to see it on piers on the front. So in the front and part of the sides, the foundation goes to the ground, and that foundation is no larger than the existing. And then the part in the back, if you look at the foundation plan, which won't be visible from the front, will be on piers.
I see. Okay. And I was trying to follow you with a number that you used earlier. I think you said 0.9%. of something. Was that a number with respect to the square footage of the house, above what is permitted?
The maximum building coverage,
Yes.
our calculations show that we're at 27.9%, but the maximum is 27%. And that does not, we just can't get it to work to get it to 27, so we're asking for a variance for that tiny amount. It's 93 square feet above the maximum. It probably has to do with the fact that the garage is part of the footprint, makes it larger, and we have 12-inch thick walls to meet the passive house standard.
Okay. Well, it seems like you've addressed every detail, and I certainly, I like the bigger plan to make this, an energy, what's the terminology you used, energy neutral or
Zero energy.
Zero energy, thank you. I understand the concept, I just don't know the terminology. And it looks like you've taken a lot of care to design this with the needs of the particular family in mind. And it looks like you've left no stone unturned here. But that said, I do know we have a fairly lengthy set of comments from our engineering consultants.
Yes, and one of the reasons for that is because we've been receiving material kind of intermittently since the submission deadline, so our engineering consultant didn't have the opportunity to review everything in detail. So I think the board and the applicant would benefit from having our town engineer take another look at the plans that were developed, just to make sure that their comments wouldn't change anything, and to see if some of these things could be addressed.
Yeah, I agree. This is particularly given the importance of the stormwater management with this particular site.
Understood.
Yeah.
We actually feel that we found the right engineer who's done extensive analysis, and it'd be good to the town engineer to see that and see if we can work out the concerns and make sure they're addressed.
Yeah, that's always the best way, if you have a very capable engineer of your own, they speak the same language and they can cut right through the issues if they can be resolved. So, I guess the question becomes, at what point do we refer this to the Zoning Board of Appeals?
Right, this will need to go both to the Zoning Board of Appeals and to the Architectural Review Board. I think you probably want a little more engineering input just to make sure that everything is going to be where it's located, the coverage is going to be what it is, the stormwater, there can be a solution to be reached.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's where I was leaning on this, because, and there's still plenty of time to get this done within the next several months, even with those 2 additional board hearings. I think my strong preference here is to hear from our engineers, and in the interim, your engineer and the town's engineers can work through these problems and hopefully get this into even a tighter presentation for the next time around. But do any other questions from any of the board members?
My only question is for a couple of the variances, like requesting the higher roof in the back and the 0.9, which comes from the thickness of the walls. They both seem to be an ask due to make it net zero, so adding more solar panels. And then is the 12 inches for some sort of insulation purposes, or?
Absolutely. Our firm has experience doing zero energy, and unlike, you need like R40 instead of 21 in the walls, and R6, and more like R60 rather than 49. So the requirements to get to zero are much higher and much more stringent than New York State code. So we need 12 inches of space for that insulation. And we tried to meet the maximum 27%, we just couldn't quite make it work. And I think because of all the additional space for the walls and also the garage being part of the footprint, it just made it so that we had to seek a small variance.
So it's in order to meet net zero requirements, but not like Westchester Building Code requirements for R factors?
There's a standard, it's pretty common in Europe, but not in the US, called the Passive House Standard. And it's based on climate data that's put into an energy model, and it determines, it tells you how much insulation you need, along with triple insulated glass and airtight membranes in order to reach your targets. And also, it brings down energy consumption to 10% of a co-compliant home.
And then with regards to the roof, there's no other option for having them face in another direction besides south to maintain, to achieve the amount of panels you need without raising the roof?
This is the elevation I showed you where the panels faces south. So to get the most efficient use of solar panels and to minimize the number of solar panels, you try to hit the ideal orientation and angle. So that's why the house is the shape it is, the roof is the shape it is. And we want to, even if though, we also want to account for electric vehicles. So, so we want to make sure we have enough solar panels to reach our target of 0. And that's why we wanted that additional space, but you can't put it on any other side of the house. It has to be on the south face.
Unless the sun reorients itself and we get sun from the north.
You can, I've seen panels face north and every orientation you can imagine, but they're much less efficient and you need more of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, insulation, I think, is going to come in very handy these next couple of weeks when we're all going to be freezing our backsides off.
They don't have it.
One thing, if you want to just talk about the elevation, talk about the architectural plans, because this has not been reviewed by the Architectural Review Board. So since the applicant has to come back, if there's anything else you might like to see, this would be a good opportunity to kind of make the process efficient and have them address that at the next review as well.
I think the drawings and the illustration that you showed of the house, it's an attractive house, and particularly given all of the issues you're attempting to address here, the very positive concerns that you have. I don't know if I have any other particularized concerns. Do any other members of the board?
Nope. And the last thing is a landscape plan will ultimately be needed, but I don't know if you want to have the input from the zoning board and the architectural review board before that's prepared, or if you have a sequencing for that.
I think we'd probably want to get the engineering issues out of the way first, but you will need a landscape plan for this. This is effectively,
We're going to provide that.
Okay, that's fine. So beyond that, we might as well open the public hearing on this.
This is just a preliminary review,
is
so this
preliminary.
hasn't been noticed
Okay,
as a public hearing.
Okay, so no public hearing. We'll get the public hearing next time. Yeah, I'm otherwise satisfied. You've made very good progress, and I think with the benefit of the input from and the communication between your engineer and the town's engineer, we'll get this thing moving pretty quickly.
Can you tell me if we can be referred to the zoning board so we can start that review process?
So the discussion we've heard tonight is that we're going to hold off on a referral to the zoning board at this time to have some of the engineering issues resolved or discussed further, just to make sure that in the resolution of those things, there's no plan changes that would be needed. And so the next submission deadline is February 3rd for the February 26th meeting, and if we make progress on that front, then the board can consider the referral then.
Yeah, I would get on that, because the zoning board of appeals has a rule that they will hear something and then they will sit on it and they will not rule on it on an application until the following meeting. So you basically have to go to 2 meetings of the zoning board of appeals. And I know we want to keep this moving, but this engineering issue is a pretty significant issue that we need to make sure we're comfortable with. But so I'm going to recommend that you move as quickly as possible on this, get everything everything that you need to have resolved and submitted in advance of our February 26th hearing, and that's a
February 26th,
yeah,
yes.
that you do that, and I have every reason to believe we'll be able to send you on your way the next time, provided there aren't any issues that pop up in the interim. Okay. All right, so,
You don't need any motions here because we don't have a hearing.
yeah, we don't have a hearing, so I think, do you understand what, and you can always reach out to the,
Next month, but will that be a public hearing?
No, so you can come back next month to continue the preliminary review. Then you'll get when the board is in a position to refer the application to the zoning board, you'll get a referral to the zoning board and to the architectural review board. Both of those boards will hold public hearings, and then after, assuming the successful completion of those boards, you'll return to this board, and at that time, you'd notice a site plan hearing. So at this point, we just do a preliminary review to talk through some of these site planning issues so that we're sure when we refer you that the plan is in a relatively final form so that the zoning board is considering ultimately the final proposal.
So the engineering report and the review by the town engineer is critical right now.
Yes, because I think what we want to see is that nothing in the engineering analysis will change the layout of the proposed development.
yeah, it's a little unusual to, the piers, for example, is not something we see a lot of. I always think, I travel a lot down to the Outer Banks, and I always see houses built on piers. This is obviously not to that extent, but the whole floodplain analysis, and again, just reviewing this for the first time today, this is also something that we don't encounter with great frequency, and I understand, there's an issue as, at least it's your position, that this is only a sort of a floodplain issue, that the structure itself will not be on land that is part of the floodplain, but we have to resolve these issues anyhow.
Would you like the civil engineer to come to the next meeting?
That would probably be helpful,
Yes.
yeah. I think if we, I think the first step will be to make a full submission no later than the submission deadline. We can't really accept anything after that because then our town engineer doesn't have time to review it. And then we can receive his comments and then maybe talk about the best way to present and discuss at the next meeting.
Understood.
But I think to that point, we're saying for your engineer to meet with the town's engineer before that, so then by the time it comes to the meeting, the engineer could definitely come, but everything will be pretty tidy
All by then.
by that time, and then they could do a presentation,
Okay, that'll
best
be our
case.
goal.
Yeah,
That's
but
understood.
it is very good to have your engineer here because this board may have questions. There may be questions that arise in the back and forth, and if it's Rick Bolander, who usually is the KSCG engineer who handles these matters, and I see his name on the memorandum as well as Joe Cermelli's. He's a very agreeable and knowledgeable individual, and he understands and wants to work with your engineer, get these things resolved if they can be resolved, and only if we reach an impasse is there going to be a problem. Okay.
Well, we'll make sure that happens, and I guess we'll get prepared and see you at the next planning board meeting.
Good. Thank you very much.
Your time.
Can I ask a question?
Just go up to the mic.
So,
Yes, if you state your name for the record.
sure,
Yep.
it's Maricor Solina. I am the mother and the grandmother who is building this multi-generational home for my family, and it's really important that this home, because we're all like asthmatic, and so that's why it's very important for me to have a home that's passive. And the net zero part is because not only that you want a home that is healthy, but also with the cost. Everybody's aware of the cost of the utilities. So, I came across Christina, not only that she's highly recommended, she's a certified architect for the passive, the FIAS, and also her own home that she built for herself, zero energy. She doesn't pay anything. And that's our goal, right? Besides having a healthy home and, this new technology, keeping that air and all of that. But fast forward, unfortunately, I just want to inform the board that I have worked diligently from the beginning because I was aware that the home was in a flood zone. So I reached out to the town to get the guidelines, reached out to FEMA, and then with the help of the Westchester Planning Board, I was informed that FEMA has already authorized the remapping. Unfortunately, because of budget that was halted, our area was not finished. So that is now, I expressed that with Ralph, our engineer, and that is why the analysis of this, because then the mapping was old and there's a lot of changes that has transpired since the last mapping. And it turned out that the home itself, the structure of the home we're going to build, is not on a flood zone. But still, knowing that there's a stream in the back, okay, and with all these events of flooding around us, I still would like to maintain the house to be elevated. And that's why completely I do not want a basement. I don't want to have, the family to have that issue, having mold or whatever, things like that. So to secure the property, that's why I also asked Ralph, because the neighbor beside me on the left side, if you're facing the house, they have a huge swimming pool, and they have the stream, and they have the retaining walls. So that is where all this conversation started, that I said, why is my property so low? And if I could elevate it and put my retaining walls. And so I guess this is where all this analysis was done as per the recommendation of KSCJ, and that is why, unfortunately, the report of Ralph did not come in on time to KSCJ, so that they already sent out also their guidelines, not knowing what was the result of all of this analysis that is important, that's needed. So my question is, would the two engineers be able to communicate with each other and resolve this issue, in a, how do you call that? Not to wait for another.
Proactively.
Yes, proactively, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's usually the way that these things are handled.
Yeah,
An
our
open
office-
line, yeah.
Yeah, our office would be happy to schedule a technical review meeting where we could get the engineers together if you'd like to do that. Maybe it makes sense to have our engineer take a look at the submission and the report prepared by your engineer, and then we can maybe schedule that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we understand. Ms. Griffin did a very nice job presenting, what your goals are here, and I think they're very admirable, and it's a very, it looks like, everything has been designed very carefully, and, with your needs and those of your family in mind. So this looks like a very well-presented application, but we still have these issues, as you pointed out, that are, maybe we have to have a little more heightened review because of the existence of this floodplain. And if these are issues that can be resolved, and we know of no reason right now why they can't be, but we do defer to the experts on this. Assuming they can be resolved, they will be resolved. And we're definitely not doing anything to try to hold you up, but we do have to be thorough. Okay?
Definitely.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, next up is application 25-75, which is 203 Park Avenue.
Good evening. My name is John Yanacito. I'm an architect, and I'm representing the owners of the subject property. We are proposing the reconstruction and expansion of the existing single-family residence located at 203 Park Avenue. The proposed scope of work will include the reconstruction and alteration of the first and second floor of the existing residence. We're also constructing a two-story addition at the side and the rear of the existing structure, constructing a 1.5-story garage addition at the right side of the existing residence, constructing a new front entry portico, and constructing a new wood deck at the rear of the property. So I'm going to come over to the drawings and so here we have the site plan.
Is this, I know the description that's been presented to me of this is that it is a proposed new single-family residence with the demolition of the existing residence.
Yeah, so
Is that, the way you're describing it sounds like it's some sort of hybrid?
so there was, the house had a fire last year that destroyed the existing structure. So we are going to take the entire structure down to the top of the foundation.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to partially save some of the foundation and then expand the house. So I think that's where it fell into, it's going to be 99% new.
Okay,
So I
got
think
it.
that's where we got to the new residence.
Right, and the reason that distinction is important is because we do have some different requirements for additions and alterations versus tear down rebuilds. And when we get to a certain point of demolition and reconstruction, we classify it in the latter category. And so we have a full landscaping plan, we have a more robust stormwater plan because it's been
So
classified in that way.
this does fall into that more
Correct.
robust one?
Yes.
Okay,
So
got it.
the drainage will be designed for a 100-year storm. We have landscape plans, we have streetscape, so the street facade compared to the neighbors' houses. So we'll
Got it.
present that all tonight, just as it would be for a new house.
Okay, good.
So looking at the site plan, the area here that does not have the hatch, that represents the existing footprint of the house. And then the yellow parts here is the expansion at the rear and at the side. So basically, this will be the new footprint of the house. And then the piece that's hatched here in red will be the new garage over to the side. There'll be only garage here, 1.5 story. And then you have the deck at the rear and a front entry portico. Look at the elevations. So here's the front elevation. So here's the main body of the house, which is slightly wider than the existing house and slightly deeper than the existing footprint. And then this is all new construction at the side for the 1.5 story garage. Looking at the side, the property slopes from the front to the rear. It's an existing slope to the rear, and it provides a walkout basement, similar to the way the house exists today.
Is the garage, the 1.5 story, I see there's windows up there. Is that decorative or is that?
It's going to be unfinished space up there that's only accessible through the garage. You cannot go across this way.
Okay.
So they'll be used for storage. So we'll have a pull-down stair in the garage, and they'll be able to store things up there.
Got it, okay.
And here is the rear of the property, the proposed deck at the first floor level, and then the walkout basement below. And then this is the 1.5 story garage, and the grade slopes up along the side.
It's a pretty
on both
steep
sides.
grade.
Yeah,
right?
it does. And then once you get to the back, there's a big retaining wall, because the street behind this drops it drops a good 8 feet. I forget the name of that street, Lawrence, I think it is. It's much lower. So here we have the streetscape showing the existing homes and the proposed home in relation to the neighboring properties. So this is the existing residence at 197 Park, the existing residence at 203 Park, which has the garage down at the lower level in the basement. So we are removing that basement garage, filling in the driveway, and then moving the garage to the right side. And then that's the existing house at 215. And then here's the new building in comparison to the neighboring properties. The heights are pretty close to the existing properties on both sides. It's pretty consistent. It's just this is a much wider property.
Yep.
This is 90 feet wide. This one here is 70 feet wide, and this one is 60 feet wide, so it's just a larger footprint because of the wider lot.
Yeah, it definitely is a larger massing, and certainly, that's just on the front. In the back, it's almost like an additional floor because of the grade.
Because of the slope,
Yeah,
yes.
mhm.
Yep. And then this is the rendering of the front facade showing the finished materials. So the proposed wall surfaces will be a 3-coat stucco in a light gray finish. The front portico will have a stone veneer. The roof over the main portion of the house will be asphalt shingle in a charcoal finish. The roof over the entry portico will be a standing seam metal roof in a black finish. The windows will be vinyl clad in a black finish. The gutters will be aluminum in a black finish. The leaders are going to be aluminum in a gray finish to match the stucco. The front door will be fiberglass in a white finish, and the overhead door will be fiberglass in a black finish. And at the rear, the decking will be a composite in a gray finish, and the trim boards, the columns, and the railings on the deck will all be AZEK in a white finish.
Okay, and the Architectural Review Board has reviewed.
Yes, so when it was in front of the board at the January 8th meeting, and was approved with no comments as submitted.
Okay. Did that also include, I know a former member of the ARB who would always ask for the light fixtures to be shown on the.
Yes, so we do have the light fixtures on the elevations, and there is a cut sheet in the package that we submitted.
Got it.
So we will have light fixtures on either side of the entry arch here.
Okay.
Light fixtures on either side of the overhead door, and then light fixtures at the rear on either side of the sliding door to the deck.
Got it.
So we also submitted drainage plans that were prepared by Catazone Engineering. He is proposing dry wells here at the rear and at the front. We did receive a memo from the consulting engineer today with the list of comments, and those will be addressed by the engineer at some point this week, I guess, or next week. And then we also prepared a landscape plan, which was done by Dan Sherman. So all the plantings along the side property line and rear property line on all 3 sides will remain. We are proposing new plantings on either side of the entry portico, and 1 new tree in the front yard on the left side of the property. And he has
The
a
tree?
long-
Yep. What kind of tree?
The tree will be a silver linden. Whatever that
How does
is.
that grow?
I have no idea. He does, I don't know if he says what the height's gonna be. Let's see, silver. Does he have it here? No, he doesn't have the height. He just has it as a 3 to 3.5 caliber. Nothing about the height of what it be, but it looks pretty tall here.
I think linden trees grow pretty tall. I know I've been to some
50
old
to 70.
homes in New York that have like
Yeah.
linden trees. Yeah. It was
And then everything else in the front here will stay low.
mature 50 to 70 feet.
50 to 70.
That's
Big tree.
good. Yeah, I like that. I like real trees. All right.
That might take a while.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Very
you know?
mature, yeah.
That's what you, what, you 3.5 caliper we're starting with?
Yeah, right.
That's okay. Well, you know, it's got some, gonna need some time.
And I have samples of the materials if you guys.
Yeah,
would like to
sure.
see 'em.
Where don't you? Yeah, that's good. Pretty tree. Yeah. I like the choice of the linden tree. Okay.
The stone material, the front stucco.
Nice.
The metal roof,
All right.
AZEK, composite decking, grade colors
Okay.
on the back. And asphalt shingles
All right.
and charcoal.
Charcoal. All right.
That's the stucco, Joe?
Stucco, yes.
I think.
And then that's the overhead door.
Okay.
Nice package. Sample package.
All right.
Strix.
All right. Well, we do not have Mr. Bolander here today, but perhaps, Noel, you can interpret for us as to the best of your ability what, I'm not seeing at first blush anything that looks insurmountable here. It looks pretty
Sure,
straightforward
everything
stuff.
looks
Yeah.
pretty much just like clarifying details. The only one that gives me a little pause is that our town engineer hasn't witnessed the soil testing yet. And I don't know if your board wants feedback on the results of that testing and how it might inform or change the stormwater management system, or if you would rather just defer to the town engineer to do that testing and work it out. If it happens to change anything on the site plan, and amended approval could be required. So that's up to you if you want that feedback before moving forward, or, you know, if you're willing to defer that just for the engineering analysis.
So I know that the engineers were out there and already did a perk test, but I guess they might
Okay.
have to do it again.
Yeah, if it wasn't witnessed, KSCJ usually asks for it, yeah,
Yes, but I know they had the machine out there
got it.
a couple of weeks ago.
And did you get any unofficial results of that perk test?
Well, the way he designed the system, it works, where he dug the holes, so it should be okay. So they'll dig the holes in the same exact spot when the town engineer comes out.
Yeah, and usually we'll just ask the town engineer to concur with that analysis or provide feedback of how it might be altered, so.
Okay.
And I think we have plenty of room if we have to move them around. I mean, there's plenty of room in the back of the house that we can move the drywells if we had to.
Okay.
But when they did dig the test holes, they didn't encounter any kind of ledge or rock, so that was a good sign, and no water.
Okay.
Defer.
We should have a public hearing, right?
Yes, please.
Let's do that. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to open the public hearing for application 25-75, 203 Park Avenue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone here? Here we go.
Hello, my name is Paul Brancotti. I live directly across the street from the structure. Just a couple of questions. One, I'm just curious, what's the purpose of saving I believe it's the south and the east wall of the foundation, and just expanding the other sides and putting all new walls versus just taking it all out completely?
Yeah, so the intention,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
we looked at the foundation. The foundation was in pretty good shape. And initially, when we started laying it out, we were going to try to keep the entire foundation. But then we needed to expand the building a little bit to make more space on the first floor. So it didn't seem, it wasn't, the basement plan just didn't work out, leaving these other couple of walls. So we decided to remove those. So as of now, we do have 2 walls remaining. But that could change, and they could pour brand new walls. Then it would definitely be considered a brand new construction. The design of the building would not change. The drainage calculations wouldn't change. The landscape plan wouldn't change.
Yeah, and since this is being reviewed as a tear down rebuild,
being
whether they
reviewed.
reuse it or not, as long as it's not changing the location or the design in any way.
Yep.
Sounds
My presumption would be you wouldn't want to cut corners on something like a foundation if there was any question as to the integrity of that
Right,
foundation.
and it seems fine. We checked it, and it seems fine. And the one thing was, because the slope is, the site is sloping, the front wall is the one that is the deepest wall. As we go further back, we're not gonna have to dig down very deep. It's only gonna be 42 inches to get the footing down below frost, and that's it. And in the garage, same thing, 42 inches, and then up the slope 42 inches, and on the front 42 inches. We're not gonna be digging out any new basement area, because it's really a hole already. It's already there. So that's why leaving the front wall seemed like a good idea, because we wouldn't have to dig in front of the house to kind of stabilize the grade when you're building the new wall. Just leave it in place and just keep extending further back. So that's the idea. If it doesn't work out that way, then we'll rebuild the wall. But for now, we're trying to keep those two walls. So that's the reason we're trying to keep them.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, I noticed right now the garage is on the left side of the house. You're gonna move the garage on the right side of the house. There's a tree, a pretty large-sized tree there, and there's a utility pole, I'm assuming like 20 feet off the property line. Is this, the building requires no variances, all the setbacks are all within the codes?
Correct, this is a zoning compliant proposal.
Okay, so does the utility pole have any
Yeah, we're not
effect on
moving-
the driveway?
It's gonna be narrow when you come in, and then it'll get wider as you pass. So the curb cut's gonna be smaller than the actual width of the driveway. Here's the pole. So the driveway's gonna be, curb cut will be narrow, and then it gets wider as you go in. So that was the one, we're not gonna move the pole. So that's,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all I have. That's fine.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thomas Torrey, I'm the owner of 197 Park Avenue, so it's the house directly to the left. So I just had a question on the landscaping, the proposal to keep the arborvitae that are up against my side of the property. I know they were severely damaged during the fire. They're browned out, and they weren't really well maintained by previous owner, and I also think some of them are planted on my property.
oh, they're not your trees, they were the, yeah.
And yeah, they're not my trees.
So the landscape architect.
And I've had several discussions with the owners about trying to maintain them, kind of top them off so they wouldn't grow as wide, and they've kind of invaded my property. And again, I don't know if they're gonna come back, especially in the back. Actually, could you bring up the
landscape plan?
Yeah. If you look at, on the landscape plan, so the ones in the front, I finally convinced them, let's try and top those.
Can you put it back on the easel, and sir, if you can come around.
And
Just bring
just
the
bring,
Microphone, yeah.
Please. Sir, take the microphone.
John's getting it, so, yeah.
Oh, I would need a mic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where you do your lounge act.
Yeah, so the ones in the front, I finally convinced them, let's kind of try and top them and keep them neat. And I even did them on her side because just being a good neighbor. But these ones over here, that from this point on, I mean, they're all browned out and burnt. I mean, matter of fact, when the fire came, they were coming towards my house, towards like the second floor. And again, I think they're just scattered, although if I looked at the survey line, they're not mine, but some are on my property, and I'm probably gonna cut them back because.
Yeah, that's fine, if they're on your property, you can cut them back. We had the landscape architect looked at, the landscape architect did look at the trees that were burned out, and he seemed to think that they were gonna come back. That's why he said just leave them. But if we have to replace them, we can. And if we have to
Yeah, I just wanted to
if we
bring
have
a
to
point
cut them
up, yeah.
back or lower them, that's fine too. I mean, it's,
Sir, are you would you prefer that there be arborvitaes or some sort of planting there, or is it your preference that there be none?
I just don't think they really work well there, period. I mean, they're up against a fence that's on my property, right? So, especially these ones in the back. And again, they really weren't maintained. And that's just my.
When was the fire, by the way?
where was the fire?
When was the fire? Yeah,
It was this summer. It was.
past summer. Okay, so it's fairly recent. Okay.
I mean,
Well-
before the fire, they weren't maintained.
Yes, I understand.
They're just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, the resident here can choose to, plant if they want to plant. You know, I don't think anyone is interested in, we have an opportunity to weigh in at this, because this is effectively a new construction that requires the approval of a landscape plan. So we have the ability to weigh in, and certainly, you know, we've worked with Mr. Yanacito before, and, you know, he's always been very agreeable to listening to the neighbors and their opinions on things, and he also has a client to serve. So, you know, however this resolves, if these are trees, if these are bushes, these are arborvitaes, whatever they are, that are not thriving, I think it would be in everyone's interest to either plant new ones if that's what you want, or not plant anything at all if that's what the preference is. And it's got to be a mutual preference. Obviously, your client can plant what they want to plant if it's on their property.
Yeah, and I mean, if they need to be replaced, he'll replace them. And if they need to be cut back, he'll do that also. And you could definitely talk to him.
Yeah,
about
no,
building.
absolutely.
Yeah, and you were, if you were here for the entire meeting, you know, the very first application we had an extensive discussion on what happens when, you know, somebody builds something and the neighbors, you know, have it in their faces. Very oftentimes, there's a preference for some form of shielding, you know, and maybe that's the case here.
There's no doubt. I think there has to be some sort of shielding. Again, it's just...
Okay. So it's a matter of determining whether the existing are sufficient, that they are actually going to bounce back, and if so, they do need to be maintained. They should be maintained. Now, you know, your neighbor's idea of what the ideal planting would look like and yours might not be identical, but you can certainly trim back your side. That's like,
Yeah,
so
and as you said, you know, we could discuss it.
Right, absolutely. Yep.
yeah, I think, John, if you can just make sure that you have a fair evaluation as to whether those are whether they are going to bounce back or not,
right,
and whether all of them are going to bounce back, because we want some uniformity.
Right, and I asked the landscape architect, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah, they'll be fine."
Did he have a time frame of when that might happen? Because, you know, you could also consider a condition that says if they don't regenerate within a year, 2 years, you know, I don't know what that time frame would be, then they must be replaced.
Yeah.
If you wanted to
Yeah,
kind of do it that way.
we can definitely put that in as a condition. Sure.
Yeah, we could do that.
And the damage is really, it's all
On his side, right?
On the side.
Yeah, your side still looks good, except it's overgrown.
And it's overgrown and kind of, again, but I have the right to trim them back. And
Yes.
Once I trim them back, there's not going to be much.
Right. You'll
like,
see right through.
Yeah, you'll see
Yeah.
right through. But again, I don't think it's going to be like a huge issue. I just wanted to bring it up.
Now's the time to speak up.
Yeah, I think this could
Okay.
be we can deal with this as we move along.
Is that opposed to just saying take the burnt trees out?
I'm sorry?
Is that opposed to just saying remove the burnt trees? Why can't we just say that?
We can, but if they're gonna come back, then it would be a shame to take them down and plant the same exact tree there. You know, if it looks like they're not
Okay, give it
coming
a
back,
timeline, then
we'll definitely
action.
replace them.
Okay.
So we can put that as a condition. If they look like they're not coming back, we'll replace them.
And if the fire was last summer, I would think that the spring is the time when plants
Right.
tend to regenerate.
Right now, they're pretty dormant, so.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot on them right now.
Maybe we could have an evaluation of it before the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, because, you know, assuming the time frame that might be, that might give you the spring to assess their condition.
And there's also, they probably haven't done anything to the trees since the fire.
Sure.
Now you could feed them better to make
Put them on roids, I get it.
some steroids.
I hear you. And you're probably right. If the fire was last summer, the last thing that anyone was going to be paying attention to was the health of the trees back there.
They've just been sitting there.
And you know, we're in the middle of the coldest part of winter right now, so they're not going to look at their best for sure right now. So I would be in favor of placing some sort of condition on that. And it sounds like you're agreeable that if these things aren't bouncing back within a reasonable amount of time, you're going to replace them.
Yeah, by the time the building is constructed, we'll definitely know whether they're going to bounce back or not, and then we can make a decision there.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Great. You're welcome.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. think we're out of people, so I'm gonna make a motion.
But we got one
Okay.
more.
I was at the last meeting, I guess, when they proposed this house, and I asked them when they were gonna start, and they said the beginning of January, I think they said, so I'm just curious, when are they gonna start?
We're probably looking at the end of February, because we need to get a building after this. Well, if it moves on.
Yeah, it hasn't been approved yet, so they can't do anything.
If approved tonight, we'll probably get a permit somewhere in the middle of February, probably start third, fourth week of February, and then probably about 10 months of construction.
Okay, is the owner of the property gonna live in the house?
He is not.
So they're gonna build it and
They're gonna
then
build it and
put it for
sell it,
sale? Okay. What are the requirements or the limitations as far as when they're building a new house? Because my driveway is gonna be directly opposite their driveway. As far as leaving construction vehicles on the street, when they're doing construction, obviously, we know they have to have trucks there and machines and whatever else they need, delivery of materials.
Yeah.
I know as a fact, it's gonna impact us and parking on the street and getting into our driveway. What are the requirements that they have to follow or abide by so that I know at least for myself?
Yeah, this is a very common question that's asked by neighbors in this circumstance. And Noel?
So I don't know precisely the protocols by the building department for those types of questions, but we can convey that concern to the building inspector so that he can note it during the building permit process. We'd ask the applicant to be mindful of the neighbors and, to make sure they're not blocking driveways. And then if there are issues, you can call the building department.
Do we often have some sort of a construction plan?
We do for larger developments. We can consider that if you'd like the building department to consider that more closely, you can consider that imposing that as a condition of the approval. And that would just be kind of a construction access work plan that the applicant and the building department would agree to.
Will they be required to put a chain link fence around the property? I see there's another house being built not far away, and they have like a 6-foot removable chain link fence that they keep around the property to protect it. Will there be anything like that, or you're not really sure that's up to the
We might have some
builder?
construction fencing and silt fencing, but I don't know about the chain link fence.
Yeah, that would be the applicant's decision if they wanted to secure the site during construction. What we would require would be the silt fencing for sure.
And just to answer one part of your question, there are restrictions in town in terms of dates of construction during the week, finished by a certain hour. They're not allowed to, pursuant to a building permit, do construction on Saturdays and Sundays, et cetera. And to the extent that you see construction outside of that framework, you should alert the building department. But most of the construction in town is pretty compliant. So, but there are restrictions in terms of that.
I think that's for the land and also the street. So you could look into that based on, the building department's information.
Right. Yeah, I understand. Obviously, they need to have equipment and materials and everything, of course, but it's just a matter of just getting access to my property and being able to get in my driveway. And of course, it's going to be inconvenient, but it is what it is.
But it'll be over before you know it, I hope.
We're going to create a stabilized construction entrance where vehicles can come onto the property, all materials can be stored on the property.
Right.
Yeah, trucks are gonna park along the street, because at some point, you're gonna have electricians, plumbers.
Of course.
A lot of different trades there, so you're gonna have a lot of vans, and they're gonna park down the street. We'll try to get as many cars on the property as possible, but you can't get them all on.
No, I totally get it. I understand. As long as I can get my driveway, I'm good.
Yeah, and I'm sure we could talk to the contractor and just make sure that, because you're directly across.
Directly across.
So we can just have them keep that side.
Well, I know we had an application, either at the last meeting or the one before, where the same issue was raised by a neighbor, and I know the applicant stated that, one of the first things that they build out is the driveway, and that allows, when the trades come, that they can park on the driveway. Would that be the intent here?
Well, Well, I think that's exactly where he showed the stabilized construction. You have to do a place where concrete trucks can come in, deliveries can come in.
Yep.
And hose them off on the property, so it's gonna be built in that location where the new driveway's gonna go. So, that would be the on-site driveway, the truck.
Yeah, because I think you'd want it, I know you just mentioned that these trades are probably gonna park on the street. The preference would be to have them park on the site.
Yeah, but you're only gonna be able to get 2 or 3 trucks on site.
True, but I don't know if they'll all be working simultaneously.
Yes.
Or sequentially.
Usually for plumbers,
Yeah.
HVAC guys.
Yes, I get
There's-
it.
There's going to be a peak.
Yeah, there will be moments where you're gonna need, but to the extent you can stagger them, that's also
In the beginning, you'll
preferred.
probably
Yeah.
get, the masons will be there, so you might get some bigger trucks there because you're gonna have excavation and concrete delivery. But once that goes away, it'll just be vans. And they may not all be there at the same day.
Okay.
No, I get that. To me personally, it's the bigger trucks, the concrete truck, the dump trucks that are gonna come. If your new proposed driveway is going to be the staging area, my driveway is directly opposite it, and the street's only so wide. Obviously, when the truck pulls in, I don't want him pulling into my driveway to back into the staging area. Because otherwise, I don't know how they're gonna get in and out of there, especially with the pole in the way. So that's just my concern, that, any damage to my property or anything is obviously gonna be their accountability, not mine. So is there a contact number? You just keep in touch with the town? I guess the
Yeah, you
building
can
department,
call the
you
building
said?
department number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully I won't
Yeah.
have to, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they build all over the town.
Are they reputable builders
Yes,
in the town?
yeah, he's.
I, d-
Who is it?
I don't know if it's hearsay for us, but when you do talk to the town, you could maybe, or even ask the contractor to have like a logistics plan showing the trucking and routing of how they're going to get in the site, just to make you feel more comfortable. But I would recommend starting with the building department to ask those questions. I don't think
when
that'll
they
be for the
start, I'll
board
go out
here.
there and I'll
We
just
can
ask.
have a meeting at the site. and,
Right.
Yeah, I
we'll
think
just
that
work
would
it
be,
all out.
yeah, I think that would
Yeah,
be
it's a
fine.
very valid concern because you're right across, so we understand what you're saying, but I don't think that's for
Yeah, and if
the
it's
team here.
a real issue having the staging on that side, we could put it on the other side. It's just a
Yeah.
temporary.
I'm just thinking, because the existing driveway is on the other side, it's probably easier, but you're gonna
Yeah,
probably
but it
fill
goes-
that
it
in
goes
right
down,
away,
so
yeah.
that's the- So we're probably gonna fill that
Yeah.
quickly so that we can level it out, and then they can park up down that side also.
Whatever, as long as they don't come on my property, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Well, how does this board feel about, do we need to bring this applicant back next month with the full benefit of vetting of the engineering, or are these is the engineering far enough along, given the report, that we could approve this conditionally?
I feel everything's adequately addressed.
Yeah,
Move
okay.
forward.
Anyone else?
My only question is, we always talk about the height restrictions and stuff. It is a wide house. Is it within the parameters of?
No variance is required.
Okay, so I'm good.
Yep. I agree that it's certainly a lot wider than the other houses, but it is a nice design.
It's 30 feet wider than the neighboring property. So
So-
the one next door is 60 feet wide, this one's 90 feet wide, the property. So that's why it seems so much wider.
Oh,
than the
just
house.
It's a bigger property,
an
it's a
illusion.
wider property,
Yeah, so
okay.
that zone requires a 6,000 square foot property. This one's just under 10,000 square feet.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, yeah, I'm prepared to conditionally approve this.
Okay.
I didn't see anything in the engineer's report that gave me too much pause. As you said, the percolation test, that's something that we'd want to have done sooner rather than later, and if that does result in problems, we'd want you to come back here.
Yes.
But on the presumption that it doesn't, and we have good reason to believe it won't be a problem, then there would be no need to come back.
Can we have some fairly standard conditions for these types of tear down, rebuild, new home construction? And, you know, one of the conditions to be satisfied prior to the issuance of a building permit would be that all of KSCJ's comments have to be addressed. So all this would be addressed before a building permit could be
Okay.
obtained.
And that would include,
If there's any major issues with any of the comments, we'll have to come back.
correct.
Yeah.
But I think under the circumstance, we can close the public hearing and then reopen it if there is a major, as yet unidentified issue. So with that in mind, I make a motion to close the public hearing on application 25-75, 203 Park Avenue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And then I have some kind of standard conditions that I've modified slightly based on our discussion about the arborvitae, so if you don't mind, I can go through them. So the first would be, as I just said, a condition to be satisfied prior to the issuance of a building permit would be that the applicant shall address the comments in the memorandum from KSCJ Consulting dated January 20th, 2026, to the satisfaction of the town's consulting engineer. And then conditions to be satisfied before the issuance of a certificate of occupancy would be that the applicant shall provide a certification from a landscape architect that the landscaping was installed in accordance with the landscape plan. If the arborvitae damaged by the fire are not viable, they shall be replaced in kind. Okay? And then we add a note that pursuant to Town of Eastchester zoning law 9M1, all portions of a lot not used for building structures, parking areas, or other improvements must be properly landscaped with appropriate landscaping in accordance with the landscape plan and appropriate ground cover. The use of artificial turf is not permitted in the town. Condition number 3 is that the applicant shall pay all outstanding application fees, including any outstanding consulting fees accrued during the review of the application or after the date of this resolution, to confirm that any conditions of this resolution have been satisfied. And then 4th, our general ongoing condition is that this approval authorizes the applicant to undertake only the activities specifically depicted on the project plans. Any changes or modifications require amended site plan approval.
Okay, good. And you can live with all of those conditions, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, subject to those conditions, I make a motion to approve application 25-75, 203 Park Avenue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good luck. All right. And finally, we have application 21-17, 15 Tuckahoe Avenue subdivision, which had appeared originally as an adjourned item, but we have been able to squeeze this back onto the schedule at the request of the applicant.
Good evening, Michael Mastrogiacomo, Mastrogiacomo Engineering. What we wanted to do is bring the board up to speed on what we've been working on and some of the changes that have occurred. That way we could get some of your feedback as we're working with your consulting engineers and also our attorneys working with Noel, going through all the legal aspects. The two big items that changed. Originally, we were trying to get easements across the adjacent properties. So 23 Tuckahoe was working with us to give us an easement in order to create additional drainage and fix some of the undersized drainage that currently exists. Unfortunately, one of the neighbors didn't want to have that, so we had to revert back to an infiltration practice with the storm drain for the road, which also created having to put pumps for the 4 new homes where we have an easement on the private properties coming up, dead manhole, and then coming back out onto Tuckahoe Avenue. We've had the sewer main on Tuckahoe Avenue cameraed. Line looks really good, no cracks. Very impressed on how well it is. So that was actually something good. We've been speaking with Veolia for the water. Originally, the water main was across the street. They actually installed a new main closer to our side of the property, and it can serve for these 4 new homes. I'm working with them, getting the paperwork from them saying, giving us the will serve. And then we adjusted the location of the sewer main and the water main to maintain the 10-foot separation required. And those are the biggest changes. We've been working with your consulting engineers to finalize some of the drainage. We made sure that we designed everything with the 100-year storm event in mind.
Okay. As I recall, one of the issues that has been before us a few times is that there's the parking lot to like the country markets, which is on the north side, and there's a major retaining wall there that, to use my own understanding of it, it kind of dams up the flow of water, and it was for that reason that an alternate avenue was found across some of the neighbors' properties into a system that was at Howard Avenue?
Correct. So the history of this was when they built the supermarket here, they raised the grade, it started damming it up. This is going back into the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So, and this is from a neighbor that's been here, that grew up here, that parents had the house, she has the house, and she's been here forever and a day. And thank God she has all this information. It was a petition to the town. Town DPW came in and ran these catch basins out to Howard Place. Those catch basins are very shallow, the pipes are undersized, and they were put in at one time, no easement. I mean, back in the 60s, nobody really ran easements and did it. They did it to help alleviate any standing water there. So that's the history of that drainage system. And during our discussions when we were designing everything, talking with the consultants, your town consultants were recommending maybe replacing these lines and trying to get these easements and fixing things. And like I said, the adjacent property was all for it. Unfortunately, some of the other neighbors weren't too thrilled about things being dug up. So we had to revert backwards to, and this was a previous design that was probably a year or a year and a half ago was in front of you. So we kind of had to revert back.
Wasn't there a representation that this was all resolved at some point?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't there a representation to this board that this had been resolved with the neighbors in this area?
The neighbor next door
Mm-hmm.
was resolved. That was, we've known, my client knows them very well. That worked easy. It was the last neighbor before we got closer to Howard that I guess they had some issues and some concerns that.
Okay. And and I guess now we're able, you now have reoriented the drainage back towards Tuckahoe Avenue?
No, the drainage is going to become an infiltration system instead of a detention system. So we're reverting back to, soil testing showed that we do have, where this system is, we have good percolation, so we're using that with the calculations and designing for a 100-year storm, and we're trying to oversize it a little bit to try to get a little safety out of it.
Yeah, because I understood that there were water issues, particularly near that dammed up area.
Right.
And that has manifested itself, particularly in the neighboring properties, when there are heavy water events. And so the system that you have designed here is going to attenuate that.
Right. Well, being further west of that low-lying area, we kind of gain ground, you could say, because as the percolation goes, it should not affect any overland flow here, because by the time it gets to this area, it's already seeped into the ground and gotten into the groundwater.
KSCJ is in the process of reviewing these plans. It does still have some concerns about the stormwater system and how it would function. So that's still a review in progress.
Yeah, and certainly I don't have the expertise to be able to sort through this at this point. I just know what I've been told, and I'm trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
But this has been a significant issue with this development. And so, I think at this point, our hands are fairly tied until we get some feedback from the town's consultants.
Yeah, it's a 285-page
So
report.
then
so.
what was the purpose for today? What was the purpose for
Well,
today? then,
to
if our
bring you
engineers
up
are-
to speed of where we're at, if there's any concerns that the board has.
Oh,
You know, we don't want to get too far along with the consultants, and then you guys have some other concerns. We're trying to work in tandem and
Got it.
try to get to a finish line, you know.
So while our engineer's reviewing, I don't see any.
So this is informational and to
More
keep us in the loop.
informational,
Okay.
correct, yeah.
Okay. And
One,
so-
one concern that we've raised multiple times that I'd like the board to make sure gets addressed is that this stormwater system will be on one of the individual lots. No homeowners association is proposed, which is understandable for a subdivision of this size. It's hard to constitute a board and all of those things with only 4 lots. But it's really important, particularly because it's going to be an infiltration system, that we understand who's going to maintain it, how they're going to maintain it, who we're going to contact if it's not being maintained.
Yes.
So we need to understand that.
Right, and that's where our legal counsel is putting all that paperwork together, so then the board has all that information.
Wasn't that brought up in many meetings ago, though, that it was going to be maintained by somebody?
Right, so, no, there's no HOA, so all the lots are going to have restrictions, but there's also going to have to be another mechanism, so then they all understand they have to share with the maintenance and, you know, the continued inspections on it.
Okay.
Previously, we've gotten documentation that everybody's going to share in the cost, but that doesn't tell me or you who's going to actually do the maintenance.
Yes.
And that's what that's what I think we'd like to know.
I would very
Definitely.
much suspect that this is going to be an issue that's going to be flagged by our engineers.
Yes.
And, but it's, you know, it's certainly, yeah, I know we've looked at other developments where there has been, you know, a lot set aside as here, but where there is a mechanism in place, more firmly and legally in place.
Right.
And that certainly would be a concern here. Okay, good. Any other concerns that we need to address right now? Anyone? Okay. All right. I think.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for that additional information. All right. Okay. So I think we're done for the day. I make a motion to close the Town of Eastchester Planning Board meeting of Thursday, January 22nd, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.